Well, if you can't beat them, beat them. That's the Democratic motto. And the media is losing its mind today over a $200 disclosure fine against President Trump based on some stocks. And they're doing this while Nancy Pelosi and other left-wing liberals are raking in millions of dollars trading on the stock market. Nobody's saying a word about it. Look, Pelosi's not even the worst perpetuator of this. We're going to talk about that today because the news cycle is just infatuated with this. They have to have something against the president. Before we do, like and subscribe, folks. Leave a comment down below, and let's get into it.
Is that JR? Yes. But we love you, JR. Thank you very much. Thank you, man. This guy, he's a genius. Thank you, JR. Really nice.
All right, when you got an intro that cool, you cannot skip it. But folks, this is the story that has half the media, almost all of cable news, foaming at the mouth right now. Take a look.
Comes as an NBC News review of the president's 900-plus page financial disclosure revealed more than 300 stock trades made just a day before his administration paused several key tariffs, a move that caused a major rally on Wall Street.
The timing is incredibly suspect. The Trumps are enriching themselves and using the government to do so.
To critics who say you're profiting off the presidency, Mr.
Well, you know why I'm profiting? Because the stock market's going up.
So here, let me answer your question here. That was a doozy. Before I answer your question, I want to just observe there are different ways to ask a question. Okay, you can just ask a question, try to get your answer, or you could do like a speech where you say, Mr. Vice President, you're a terrible human being, and so is the president, and so is the entire cabinet. And then I'm like, what's your question? And then your question is, how dare you? Come on, man. Have a little bit of objectivity in the way that you ask these questions, because there were a lot of things in that speech masquerading as a question that didn't actually get asked, okay? Number one, the president doesn't sit at the Oval Office on his computer on his Robinhood account buying and selling stocks. That's absurd. He has independent wealth advisors who manage his money. He is a wealthy person. He has had success in business. He's not making these stock trades himself. And your question imputes that. It doesn't say it exactly, but a reasonable person listening to that question would assume the president is sitting around and doing.
Okay. Look, that's a great answer. It's not a spin there by JD. Okay. That's a man that's tired of getting a bunch of stupid ass questions dressed up like something they're not. And I don't blame him. How many times have you heard something stupid like that? Come on, man. Like Joe Biden. Okay? I've said that exact phrase to people giving me a lecture instead of just asking the question. And JD called it exactly what it was. Skip the theater. Okay? Because if you take the theater out of it, well, there's an actual answer. The president doesn't sit at his computer trading stocks all day. He's probably just messing around on Truth Social shit posting. But the reality is he has an independent wealth advisor who manages his money. Plenty of people watching this video right now have the same thing, okay? Not a scandal. It's Tuesday. But look, here's what is important, okay? Because a Democratic senator actually jumped on the dog pile here, but walked right into it. Take a look.
President Trump's latest financial disclosures came out, and they show that he made more than 3,400 stock trades worth more than $250 million in just the first 3 months of 2026. That's roughly half of what all 535 members of Congress made last year combined. And the value of virtually every one of those stocks that the president traded in is directly affected by President Trump's official actions. So, Secretary Bessent, you and I agree that it is a conflict of interest for members of Congress to trade stocks. Do you also agree that it's a conflict of interest for President Trump to trade stocks?
Well, couple of things, Senator. One, President Trump is not sitting in the Oval Office engaging in a high-frequency trading strategy. Clearly, he had an outside manager who was doing that, and I think it's incumbent upon both houses of Congress to get their house in order before you move.
You gotta love Scott Bessent. I mean, the Treasury Secretary telling Elizabeth Warren, Pocahontas, to get her shit together. Because, look, they're insinuating the president does exactly what they do. They come out of their committees and they're trading stock on the fly. Okay? Now, look, I'm not saying the president's perfect because I don't know. What I'm saying is, if you want to talk about stock trades and inside information, you don't start with the guy whose accounts are run by people that are considered outside managers legally. You start with the people who write the laws that they're trading on. So let's maybe do that. Let's talk about some people who write the laws. Yeah, read this. Nancy Pelosi, 19 trades, 51.7 in volume in her most recent disclosure. It's not managed by a stranger she's never met. You don't have a blind account. I got to get in my camera here, don't I? It's her own household. Yep, trading in and around the exact committees and votes that she has access to every day. Nobody at the SEC is knocking on her door. Just gay guys dressed up weirdly with hammers. I mean, but seriously, nobody in the building is asking Nancy anything. Nothing like what Elizabeth Warren just asked Scott Bessent. And this year, Congress actually took a real vote on banning this. I want you to take a look at how this played out.
And stock trading by lawmakers gained steam on Capitol Hill this week.
Members of this body are privy to information that the normal person just is not.
The Honest Act, introduced by Republican Josh Hawley and Democrat Gary Peters, would bar members of Congress, their spouses, and importantly, the president and vice president, from buying or selling stocks while in office.
I don't see the necessity of this. I can imagine all kinds of unintended consequences.
But the bill's reach, extending to the Oval Office, sparked fierce backlash from President Trump, who then blasted Senator Hawley on Truth Social, calling Hawley a second-tier senator for supporting the measure and calling him a pawn of the Democrats.
On this vote, the yeas are 8, the nays are 7, and the motion is agreed to.
Hawley was the only Republican to vote with all Democrats on advancing the bill out of committee. Hawley responding to the criticism.
I had a good chat with the president earlier this evening, and he reiterated to me he wants to see a ban on stock trading by people like Nancy Pelosi and members of Congress.
Hawley's bill was initially titled the Pelosi Act, which stands for Preventing Elected Leaders from Owning Securities and Investments, a reference to the former Democratic Speaker of the House, Nancy Pelosi, who faced immense scrutiny for her husband's extremely lucrative stock trades.
What I do think is Nancy Pelosi should be investigated because she has the highest return of anybody practically in the history of Wall Street, save a few. How did that happen?
Pelosi hitting back.
That's ridiculous. In fact, I very much support the trading of members of Congress, but I have no concern about the obvious investments that had.
That's, what's ridiculous is Nancy. Okay, it's nasty. She's nasty. I mean, look, this passed by one seat with exactly one Republican, Josh Hawley, willing to buck his own party leadership to get this done. Okay, 20 years of this, folks, and the fix finally moved by the width of a single vote. Now, here's the part most people watching today haven't heard. Okay, look at the numbers. Look at the numbers. Khanna. Okay, this dude. He's all over the place talking about Jeffrey Epstein and all this. He's a ranking member of the Armed Service Subcommittee. He oversees defense AI procurement. Ranking member of the Select Committee on the Chinese Communist Party, committee that writes the export control rules, things like semiconductors. His household disclosed close to 38,000 trades, $631 million in volume. His wife's trust bought NVIDIA in February 24, then bought it 10 more times through 25, while NVIDIA's China, their chip sales, were sitting in front of the exact committee that he sits on. There's a 239-page complaint alleging that there's around $20 million in above-market profits tied to his trades. Now, I want to be straight with you. It's an allegation. I got to say this because these dudes are snaky. Nobody's proven intent. But look, as a regular American, you tell me, if a government contractor that we use to manage, let's say came to you or I with a pattern like that, man, I wouldn't need a courtroom to know something's rotten. It's not bad luck. It's a hell of a coincidence, if there ever was one. But here's the man who's supposed to be in charge of all this stuff and policing it. Listen to what he has to say.
I mean, I'm in favor of that because I don't think we should have any appearance of impropriety here, okay? But the other side of it, some people say, well, look, the salary of Congress has been frozen since 2009. When you adjust for inflation, a member of Congress today is making 31% less than they made in that year. It goes down every year. And over time, if you stay on this trajectory, you're going to have less qualified people who are willing to make the extreme sacrifice to run for Congress. I mean, it's just people just make a reasonable decision as a family on whether or not they can come and move to Washington, have a residence here, residence at home, and do all the things that are required. So the counter argument is, and I have some sympathy, look, at least let them engage in some stock trading so that they can continue to take care of their family. But on balance, my view is we probably should do that because I think it's been abused in the past, and I think sadly a few bad actors discolor it for everyone. And look, we have no tolerance for anything even resembling insider trading or any of this kind of advantage that anybody could take. Zero tolerance for it, and we'll stamp it out ourselves. So that's why I'm in favor of the policy. But
they'll stamp it out themselves, right? Yeah. Well, here's what stamping it out looks like. Okay. Yeah. Read this. Okay. Since 2020, 60 members of the House have violated the law. The House Ethics Committee investigated 8. All of them were dismissed, 5 outright, and 3 just quietly shelved with no resolution. No penalties. 0. I guess 0 means zero tolerance. Because that's what he called it, right? 60 violations, no penalties, 0 tolerance. I mean, it's 0 accountability, and then, I don't know. I guess, what's the difference, right? But the answer really is, the fine was never the point. It was a cover. A number small enough to prove they technically have a rule, small enough that nobody actually gets hurt by it, okay? Doesn't change a goddamn thing. Trump's $200 fine got wall-to-wall coverage for a filing delay on an account that he doesn't personally run. Pelosi and Khanna made tens of millions of dollars off information they had access to that nobody else did. And it's all because of the job. And the people whose entire body of oversight can't be bothered to finish 8 investigations out of 60. You're not crazy for noticing this, folks. Not cynical. You're paying attention. And that's exactly what they're counting on us not to do. Okay? And look, I don't know. I'm a free market dude. I don't like the fact that we're restricting anybody in the United States from engaging in the free market. And I think stock trading is part of the free market. There's got to be a smarter way than just a blanket ban. But that hasn't been brought about yet. I don't think members of Congress should necessarily be banned from trading in stocks. What I think is that they should only have the ability to trade to the extent that we do. Okay, and that's not based on the information. Maybe every stock that they want to trade or engage in has a 48-hour soak period, and it's publicly, maybe it's made public and it has to soak for 48 hours. Then we could go look at what they're trading and gives us all the same platform and playing field. Is that the right answer? I have no idea. Okay. My point is that you can't ignore this just because these people are in Washington, D.C. That does a disservice to the everyday American. And it's not fair. And they know it. And they're making excuses because they write the law. But they're punishing the man who doesn't even touch his portfolio. Okay? That's plain as day. He has a legal outlet that manages his portfolio. They don't engage him. They don't engage the family. They don't engage his businesses. They independently make stock trades. Okay? But the media needs something to go after Trump for because, he's winning. So I wanted to get in front of this because this is blowing up all over socials. And why I really, as someone who advocates against cheating the stock market, it pisses me off to the farthest degree. Couldn't imagine that Trump would actually engage in this. So I had to look it up and wanted to give you my findings. So look, if you missed how they've buried the real numbers on the housing bill they rushed through last month, look at the video that's coming up right now. I think you'll enjoy it.